Scoodly doodly doo, it's time for another Welch review. Scoodly doodly doo doo.
Evening, gang. Welcome to another episode of the Welch Review. I know I'm a little late getting into the spooky seasons of October and all the various horror films that come with that, but you know, it's still kind of dark. You don't know what's going on. November's pretty spooky in its own way. So to kick things off, we are talking about Scott Derrickson's return to horror, The Black Phone. Now, The Black Phone stars Ethan Hawke. I'll tell you his character's name in a minute, but Ethan Hawke is in it. It's a mini reunion in some cases, right? Because they both worked on Sinister together, and you could find an IMDb. But Ethan Hawke was originally Scott Derrickson's first choice for Doctor Strange, so they already have a pretty good rapport with one another. But you'll know Ethan Hawke from Training Day, Sinister, and most recently Moon Knight on Disney+. So he did make his way into the Marvel Cinematic Universe one way or another. So that's cool. You have Mason Thames as Finney, and he is previously on the show Walker on the CW and on Apple for All Mankind. You have Madeline McCraw as Gwen. She was in American Sniper, Bones, and a new horror film called The Harbinger. Finney and Gwen are brother and sister in this film. Jeremy Davis as Terrence plays Gwen and Finney's father. And Jeremy Davis was in It's Kind of a Funny Story, BitCon, which I think just came out on DVD. You could probably find it on Walmart. If not, it's on, I'm sure, a streaming service. And then additionally, he was in the Arrowverse, right? Supergirl, The Flash, and Arrow on the CW for a time. And then you have James Ransone as Max. And he also has ties to Hawke and Derrickson because he was in Sinister as well. He played the police officer. And then he was in Sinister 2. And then he was in a film called Small Engine Repair. So in a way, this is kind of like a Sinister reunion, which is scary in its own way. But it's pretty cool that they all work together. I like it a lot when directors and actors, you know, they have an understanding with each other. They like the same things. They really connect. And then it's like they have a stable where it's like, oh, I have this project going. Would you be interested in directing it? Or would you help me write it? Or would you be willing to star in it? I think that's really, really cool because it like expresses the idea that you can't get somewhere on your own. You know, you can work really hard, but I think a lot of times it's forgotten, like, you need some help along the way, right? You're going to have a crew that kind of helps you get where you want to go. And it seems like they're a pretty good triangle of that. Now, Scott Derrickson directed Doctor Strange. He directed the first Sinister. He also directed Deliver Us from Evil with Eric Bana in it. And he wrote the script for this. Now, the story, The Black Phone, it has ties to Stephen King as it was written by one of his sons, Joe Hill. And it centers along the idea of there's a child killer and kidnapper striking this specific suburban area. And he's known in the tabloids as the Grabber. And he wears a devil mask, he has a black van, and he rolls with black balloons. Very, very, very sketchy stuff. I think this is something that's realistic. It is realistic, not I think. It is realistic. Horrible things happen every day. And this is something certainly you could turn the news on and see almost anywhere in America, or any country for that matter. So there's that already level of, horrific authenticity. And basically, we pick up with the point of view of Mason, you know, just a kid in middle school, you know, trying to get through the day. He and his sister and their dad, they lost their mom recently. Their dad's a bit of an alcoholic, and he's abusive. So he looks out for his sister tries to look out for him, and, you know, it's about how he's trying to, like, come to terms with himself, you know, like growing into a man sooner than he has to be, and what that kind of does. Because that's not an easy situation when you're a kid and you're looked at with adult responsibilities, or you have to look out and make sure you're be more of a caretaker than your parent is. And he's at that awkward in between where it's like, I need to do this, but he's not necessarily sure how, or like when he's finally going to, you know, drop his foot, and it's like, yep, I'm not backing down anymore from anything. And as this goes on, kids one by one are getting grabbed. They're getting kidnapped. this one kid who defends Finney at school, they become friends, is kind of like his first friend or real friend, gets grabbed. And it kind of sends everyone in a panic, as it would. And then eventually he gets grabbed. And it's about his experience while he's in this basement and how he figures out he's going to get out. Now, the phone itself, how that comes into play is it's not hooked up to anything, right? There's no phone cord, it's cut. But the ghosts of the kids who were previously in that room are talking to him and explaining all the various ways, like, they tried to get out. What worked, what didn't work, what little cheat codes did they pick up about the grabber's day-to-day schedule, right? What are his little ticks to try and help him escape, like pick up where they left off, where they couldn't, which is a horrifying idea. It's very well done. Like how they visualize that, like make the ghost presence and just how they use, voices mainly. It's very impressive. Now, at the same time, you're going to see a lot, like obviously Joe Hill being Stephen King's son. They dabble in horror. They dabble in a lot of the same things. It seems that Gwen, in her own way, her dad calls them like visions, right? And he's very adamant that like, you don't have this, your mother didn't have this, she was sick in the head. But what it comes down to is she kind of, I wouldn't be so bold to say, is like the shine, right? Like she has the shining, right? So it's interesting that, this concept Stephen King uses in a lot of his stories is now also connecting into his son Joe Hill's tales. I don't know if that was intended or plotted out, but I thought it was really cool. It's like, yo man, this is like in a way a King universe, or a Hill King, or a King Hill universe, whatever they want to call it, but it's pretty cool. I think they all do a very good job. A specific standout actor for me was James Ransone. I apologize if I butchered that. He plays Ethan Hawke's brother in this movie, and he's a drug addict, and he's trying to figure out who the grabber is. And every time he's on screen, he steals the show, and you feel like you just want more of him. But I think they gave us the right amount, because it might have gotten like too goofy or not as serious as the movie really is. But every time he's on the screen, you pay attention. You do want more of him. So excellent job, Mr. Ransone. I think Ethan Hawke, playing the titular character, the grabber, he is very terrifying. Definitely makes me look at Ethan Hawke in a different way. But it's a very, very well done movie. Granted, you have this kind of little slice of suburbia that they're filming in, and then obviously, the main basement where Finney is being held. So they use the space very well, and every actor knows their role. So if you're looking for something that's scary and it's good, you should definitely watch The Black Phone, be it if we're, next Halloween, or you're just looking for Friday night, something spooky to scare you a little. It's a good movie. Or even if it doesn't scare you, just something good to watch. I implore you to pick up the call, answer the call, because The Black Phone is super good. This has been the Welch Review, and I will see you next time.